In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make pop music. And to do that, I remade a very trendy song right now called Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And I'll break down my remake of the song's elements, the sounds of those elements, the mixing, the structure and arrangement, all that jazz. So hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you can make a song in a similar pop style to this one by following like the same techniques that they used to make this song. Set the tempo around 104, 105 BPM. Start off by making some chords with a little top melody. Now this is just some very simple chords in the key of C major. These are just the same groups of chords here and here, just with a little addition of a note right here just for some extra variance, but it's literally the same chords playing over and over again. And then the top melody, it's nothing too crazy, it's just something that I would probably make just by jamming out. I would usually take like the top note of the chord, which is E throughout, and I would probably start there and probably start like jamming out, just trying to make a melody that flows a little something like this. And for the sounds, I use this piano preset from Flex and this string preset from Flex as well. So these sounds are just going to be used for some background and to fill up the mix more. It's nothing really to stand out much in the final result at all. The only mixing that I put on these chords is a standard EQ right here that takes out a good chunk of the lows, because this is going to be something in the background where you don't want the lows of this background element to counteract with the bass that we're going to make later and make it sound muddy and gross and ew. So that's why that's there. And then this is just to amplify a little bit of the higher end so that you hear that higher end a little bit more in the mix, because this is going to be in the background, so you kind of want that higher end to stand out a little tiny bit more than everything else over here. Next, take that top melody that we made and put it into a lead preset. Make sure it's like a dreamy, kind of fairy sparkle synth, if you didn't know where that came from. And it's just the same melody that we made earlier, like this, but just copy and pasted to layer it twice in the same MIDI. And I used this synth preset from Flex to accomplish that sound. Next, take the chords that we made earlier and chop them up into a guitar. Chords from earlier chopped up into very short notes and into a rhythm that sounds like this. Just a very simple chopped rhythm with these chords. And I use this guitar preset from Flex to accomplish that sound. The guitar itself doesn't have to be realistic, because once you combine it with all the other elements, it's just going to sound like this essence of a guitar in the song. It's not really going to be something that's too loud or stands out. I mean, it's going to stand out, but not in the realistic, you need a realistic guitar sound way that it's going to make that huge of a difference. And I put the same EQ from the chords from earlier for the same reasons as before. Next, take the bass notes from the chords and chop them up into a rhythm in a bass preset. Now you're probably looking at this and you're like, what the hell is this? Well, it may look a little intimidating, but it's basically just the notes, as you see here, to transition from the chord to the chord to the chord to the chord, with just some extra stuff added in between it to kind of give it some flavor and variance. This is the same pattern as this, but just with an extra note up here just for some variance. So I'll play it right now. Nothing too crazy. It looks a lot crazier than it is. Just take these main notes right here and then just jam out with your bass in between them and then make something kind of funky and cool. And always add some variance, like this extra octave note over here. Don't do that too often, because then it'll make it sound weird in the mix. Just do that occasionally, add some spice. I used 3 bass guitar presets to accomplish the sound. I used this one over here, and this one as well, all from Flex. So this one is like a slap bass, this one's like a regular bass guitar, and then this one's kind of just a more mellow one to fill up the background of the bass sound. For mixing, I put a Fruity Blood overdrive on this thing to kind of make it that blasting, heavy-hitting bass sound. And then the same EQ from earlier, just without taking out the lows, because you want the lows. This is a bass, you want those lows to be present. So just making that higher end stand out a tiny bit more. Now for the drums. We want a very disco-ish vibe for these sounds. So I started off with this disco-ish kick, very snappy and hard hitting, and then this snare over here. Now that's the definition of snappy and hard hitting, and just a standard pop pattern that sounds like this. Nothing crazy. And then I just added some loops over here for some support, as you see. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And then I have a crash as well, a downlifter as well. Kind of help brings in that extra introduction for the drums for when it starts. And all together, the drum loop sounds like this. Next, I just added some background effects. It's a guitar top loop that kind of acts like a drone to fill up the mix and give it some extra ambience in the background. Now for the structure and arrangement of this track, I only remade the chorus for this tutorial, but you really can do whatever you want with these elements. For the verse or pre-chorus or anything like that, you could start off with just the chords and a simplified version of the drums like this, or you could start off with the chopped guitar and then introduce the bass or something like that. Whatever you want, take these elements, piece it together, and start like slowly building up and introducing things to the chorus over here, which you want everything playing all together. You have the top melody, the chords, the chopped guitar, the bass, the background drone thing, and then the drums as well. And after all that, here's the final result.